Hey everybody, how is it going today? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I want to talk about the 3D printing stocks. Stratasys is out with earnings and the stock is popping on that news. And the rest of these 3D printing stocks look like they are under accumulation. So I want to get into their charts. And then after that, I want to show you some other nice looking potential trades that I see setting up. Now, before I get started, as always, everybody, please remember I am not a financial advisor. All of this is just my opinion and for entertainment purposes only. Please make all of your own trading decisions. All right, well, I'm going to start off with the news for this sector first. And the big news today was Stratasys came out with their earnings and the stock is surging on them. Apparently, the street liked what they saw. It says the stock surged 18.9% today. But the stock was up well over 25%, even though I believe it is up less than 18% at the moment. So it's selling off a little bit, but we'll get into that in a second. But going down and reading this article, it says that Stratasys soared 18.9% on the current market trading session to the price of $38.16 after announcing its earnings report for the third quarter of 2021. In case you didn't know, Stratasys is the leading producer of innovative 3D printing solutions for healthcare, consumer products, aerospace, and the automotive industries. And getting down to the management comments, it says their CEO remarked that they are standing at an inflection position for the additive production. Their third quarter delivered year-over-year revenue growth of 24.3% and sales growth of 34.7%. The company has accomplished multiple manufacturing-focused milestones during the period. It has also secured contracts with the U.S. Navy and an international original equipment manufacturer. Their aim to be known as the first preference for 3D printing polymer solutions continues to improve. They are leveraging their exceptional reputation for perfection in both service, technology, and yada, yada, yada. Let's get down and talk turkey. Let's get into these financial highlights. It says that Stratasys reported total revenue of $159 million for the third quarter ended on September 30th of this year. Total revenue was $127.9 million for the third quarter of last year. So you can see that improved decently. Their GAAP gross margins was 42.9% for the third quarter of 2021 compared to 38.9% for the third quarter of last year. So that improved a little bit. That is a good sign. It says the company calculated an operating loss of $21.9 million for the third quarter ending this year, but that operating loss was $404 million for the 3 months that ended in September of last year. As you can see, that drastically improved. It says Stratasys reported a net loss of $18.1 million or 28 cents per share for the third quarter that ended on September 30th, but for the third quarter of last year, that net loss was $405 million or a loss of 7.35 cents. $7.35 per share last year. So just a drastic improvement right there. And this company had a stagnant revenue for several years, right around $650 million or so. It took a little bit of a dip last year because of COVID, but it looks like things are starting to turn around again. They're starting to ramp up. And I think 2022 is probably going to be a pretty good year for the 3D printers. And it looks like they are currently under accumulation. But let's get into the charts and I'll show you what I mean. All right, well, I'm going to start off with the ARK Invest 3D printing ETF just to get a look at how the sector is doing as a whole, or at least in this ETF anyway. The ticker symbol is PRNT, and I follow a couple of the 3D printing stocks on a weekly basis, and they definitely look like they're under accumulation. And after bringing up this chart of the 3D printing ETF, you know, this just confirms what I saw those other two stock charts, is that they are definitely under accumulation, and this whole sector is under accumulation as a whole. We can see that it broke below this 200 period simple moving average, but is breaking back above it today, and that is very important for the long-term trend. And I don't know if you remember the run that these things went on earlier in the year, like so many other sectors did. I mean, this thing was just a thing of beauty. I was holding a couple of 3D printing stocks, and I sold way too early. I sold just before this huge climax run. If I'd held on just another month and a half or so, I would have really cleaned house on those stocks. I mean, I made a little bit of money, but it would have been nice to have held on for this run. And this right here is a picture-perfect climax run. If you're in a stock that is making a pattern like this, you know, it starts to go straight up and it is accompanied by, you know, this climax peak in volume, you need to start ringing the register at least a little bit, because chances are you're going to be able to buy back at lower prices if you still want to stay in that stock, because this is just not sustainable. And the thing that is surprising about this chart is, you know, after you see a move like this accompanied by this type of climax volume, I would expect it to have fallen lower, but this thing has found a floor right around $35. Right now it's trading almost $40, so not very high off of this climax move that it made in February. So definitely still under accumulation, and I think the 3D printers are definitely you're going to see their revenues start ramping up in the next couple of years. So I think you know, some of the smart money is trying to get into these stocks right now, because you can definitely tell that they are not letting this thing sink below $35. Anytime it gets anywhere close, they buy it right back up. So just a beautiful pattern in the 3D printing ETF. But let's get into some of those other 3D printing stocks. And the first one I want to go into, of course, is the high flyer on the day, and that is STRATASYS, ticker symbol SSYS. These are the guys that came out with those earnings, and it popped up on those earnings, but it is since selling off. This stock topped out around $42.83. Right now it's down to about $36.15. And just a little tip here, this is a pretty typical formation. This is a classic buy the rumors, sell the news. If you ever see anything like this going into earnings and they gap it up, chances are they're probably going to sell into it. These are people that are in the know about the earnings before they come out, so they're accumulating this stock aggressively because they know once earnings come out, they are probably going to be good, and they're going to sell into us sucker retail traders that jump in to buy the stock. When I first started trading, I would get caught in these every once in a while, and I wouldn't understand it. You know, a company would come out with good news or good earnings, and you know, it would start to run. I would buy in, and then it would just turn around and crash, and I didn't understand why. And it's just because it's kind of a crooked game, you know. What can we do about it? But when you see this coming before earnings or before a big announcement, don't be a bit surprised if it gaps up, starts to run, and then turns around and collapses. That's all of these guys selling to us. But anyway, getting into this chart a little bit, you can see STRATASYS had this huge run up like this in the beginning part of the year. Sorry about that. Then we had a little bit of a collapse, but now we are into this rounded bottom formation, and this just screams accumulation. And full disclosure, I actually do own some STRATASYS shares. I own them at about $23. And before earnings this week, I was selling the $38 call. I was selling covered calls on my shares. If you're not sure what a covered call is, definitely look that up. If you're holding on to shares for the long term, it's a great way to earn some extra income while you're sitting on those shares. I like to sell them way out of the money. Probably at a 20 delta, maybe a 25 delta at the absolute most. I know you don't collect a lot for them, but it's usually free money. But during earnings week, you know, those option premiums are inflated, so you can collect a little bit more. I know a lot of people don't like to do that, but what can I say? I like to live dangerously. And if these shares do get called away from me at $38, you know, I own them at $23, so it's not really the end of the world. But I kind of figured if we did get a gap up, it was probably going to get sold into. And right now it's at right around $36. And after a day like this, I wouldn't expect it to be up the next day, but it might. But either way, like I said, if I sell them at $38, not the end of the world. But man, just a very nice accumulation pattern in STRATASYS. You got the nice green volume bars coming around this right side of this rounded bottom formation. So even if I do lose those shares, I'm thinking I'm going to get a chance to you know, add them back on a pullback if I do want to add to them. But STRATASYS is going to be the first one. Let's get into the next one, and that is 3D Systems. You can see 3D Systems also making a very nice rounded bottom. It's not as clean as STRATASYS, but this one might even be more bullish. The last couple of days, this thing is breaking above these moving averages, and especially this yellow one, this 200 period simple moving average. So 3D Systems definitely looks like it's under accumulation as well. Another one is XONE. And XONE breaking above those moving averages today. You can see XONE definitely making a beautiful rounding bottom formation as well. You got a lot of volume coming in these last few days or so. So, I mean, all these 3D printing stocks that I'm looking at are pretty much under accumulation, and that is good when an entire sector looks like they are being bought up. Desktop metals has been a little bit more of a crash than the other ones. This is what you kind of expect to see on a climax run. You expect to see this much of a pullback, you know, right around this size versus, you know, some of those other ones. But desktop metals looks like it's starting to get going as well. It's breaking above all of these moving averages on some pretty decent volume. Still has a little bit of a ways to go to get to that 200 period simple moving average. So desktop metals might be one of the weaker ones in the sector, but still starting to get bought up right now. Another one is MTLS. You can see MTLS coming around the right side of a rounded bottom formation as well. It got some pretty decent volume coming in, but you can see MTLS had that huge climax run, and then we had the sell-off, and once this sell-off starts to happen, you just kind of want to wait for it to form one of these rounded bottoms before you jump back into it. And it looks like that's what MTLS is doing. And last but not least is our buddy Nano Dimensions. ARK Invest has been making some headlines. They've been buying a lot of Nano Dimensions lately. But you can see Nano Dimensions definitely had that classic climax run, and now it's coming out the right side of that rounded bottom. Still has a little bit of ways to go to get to that 200 period simple moving average, but definitely starting to make a little bit of a rounded bottom formation, starting to put in a good foundation to you know, start running up. All right, well, before I close out the video, I want to give an update on some of the stocks that I've talked about in some previous videos. And by the way, if you want to know what we are buying and selling in real time, I do have a Patreon group, and the link is down there in the description. It's only $10 a month. And also, if you don't mind liking the smash button, allegedly it helps out the channel. I only get a few hundred views on my videos anymore, so I don't know how much they really help out, but either way, I appreciate it if you guys are nice enough to do that. But the first one I want to get into is Nikola, ticker symbol NKLA. This one is having a huge move today. It's up 21.16% at the time I am recording this video. But you can see that beautiful rounded bottom formation and then the explosion through it. Let's actually go to that 15-minute chart, and I'll show you what I was seeing in case you missed that video. And actually, I'm probably going to have to go back in time a little bit because this chart is a little distorted because this recent move has been so big. So let me back it up. If you look at this chart, you can see that we definitely come around the right side of that rounded bottom formation. We got that bullish triangle formation right at the breakout level, so you want to get in on that breakout, and that's what happened. And then this thing, it just kind of meandered around for about a day or so and then just exploded. But if you bought on that breakout, you were already up, so this wasn't a big deal, you know, kind of waiting for it to do its thing. And then we got that explosion up, you know. And just going back to that daily chart, man, this thing just cut through that 200 period simple moving average like a warm knife through butter. I didn't expect that, but man, with all this volume that's accompanying this move up, that's what happens, you know, when you get a lot of buying pressure. And I don't think a lot of people saw Nikola coming. A lot of people don't like this company for, you know, some of the negative, you know, press that this company seems to get. But man, this thing's just having a great move today. So congratulations to any of you guys that got into that one. Next one I want to talk about is Lordstown Motors. Talked about this one in the same video that I talked about Nikola. I actually closed out this position today right at the 50 period simple moving average. It just seemed like it was, you know, losing steam. And if it made it up to that 50 period simple moving average, it was probably going to roll over. It made it just a little bit past it. I sold it at $6 even. It made it up to about $6.10, so about a 1.5% past where I sold it, but then it rolled over. Now, just because we got this little roll over right now, it doesn't mean that it's not going to turn right back around and go up. I just thought that it was losing momentum, and I actually have more positions on now than I'm comfortable with, so I wanted to trim a couple of them. So this wasn't a big position anyway, so I just you know, took my small profit in Lordstown Motors. What's the next one we want to get into? Oh, let's take a look at IMAX. I talked about this one. Thinking this one was going to roll over. I bought some puts at IMAX. Hasn't rolled over quite yet, but is having some trouble with these moving averages, and it put a little bit of a red candle in today. I would feel a lot better about this position if this candle was below that yellow line, below that 200 period simple moving average. But if we can get a down day tomorrow, I think that should lead to the rollover in IMAX. You can see IMAX made this double top formation. The first move, that's a big fast move. Usually everybody misses, and then once the stock starts to retrace a little bit, anybody who was trapped right here, they are looking to sell out if it gets anywhere near where they were trapped at. So that's the psychology behind this type of move right here. So hopefully that plays out, and these options will you know, pay off nicely. But I'm still in that IMAX trade. I think I might even be down just a tiny bit on these options. I probably got into them just a hair early, but better early than not at all, only if it goes your way. If it doesn't go your way, then it's probably better that you didn't get in at all. But IMAX looking okay so far. Another stock that I got into today, I wasn't even going to take another position today, but I just couldn't help myself. I jumped into UAVS. And UAVS looks like it is trying to break through this little triangle formation right here. It's been up on 2 big days, on big volume days, making a little bit of a rounded bottom formation, a bullish pennant formation, and it's trying to get through that 50 period simple moving average. But let's go to the 15-minute chart, take a closer look at what I was seeing. If we back it out here, we can definitely see we got a nice little bullish triangle formation happening right here, and it had 2 little false breakouts. You know, I got in at $3.02, and man, the way that it made these 2 little false breakouts kind of worries me. I got in on that first breakout, had a little bit of a pullback. It looked like it was going to break out again, went just a little bit higher, and then it pulled back again. So this one, even though I'm in this one, it's not a big position. I'm a little bit worried because the way that this one is starting to form, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if it kind of rolls over and stops me out. But all in all, I do think that this is a bullish looking formation, and I would expect a breakout to the upside still. But, you know, the way that it made these 2 little false breakouts, you know, my confidence in this thing following through to the upside isn't as strong as it was when I was buying right here. So, but UAVS, definitely a decent looking chart. And the last one I want to talk about is Rocket Mortgage. Let's actually go back to the daily chart before I get into that one. Looking at Rocket Mortgage, you can definitely see we got a nice little bottoming formation happening, and it has broke through this resistance area right around $17.15, and is starting to break higher. I was watching this one pretty closely, and it was between RKT and UAVS, and when UAVS was breaking out, I just decided to go with that one, but it looks like Rocket Companies might be the one that ends up being the big winner. But if we go to that 15-minute chart real quick here, back it out a little bit, you can see that clear-cut resistance area that it broke through that resistance area, came right back down, tested it, and then took off. So I probably should have got in once it tested that area and started to move back up, because I wouldn't be a bit surprised if this one moves higher tomorrow. Okay, everyone, that is all I have for this video, so I'm going to end it right there. But if you have any questions or comments on any of these stocks, or if you have any other ones you want me to take a look at, please leave it down there in the comments section. I will get to them as soon as I can. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching my video all the way to the end, and until next time, take care, everybody.